Hello, everybody. Happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Ankit Priya. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Ankit.
Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Subodh Mathurji for giving me this opportunity. I think the initiative that is heading, giving young professionals a platform to speak up their minds and about their careers and get connected with people actually is a really amazing one. We see people in this day and age, experience people, we hear about them. And that's good actually. People learn, people consume content and they learn about experienced people. But I think it's also equally important that, young people early in their careers also speak out. So I would like to introduce myself. Uh, I wear two hats. One, I'm into public policy, research and advocacy with an organization called Foundation for Democratic Reforms. There I work as a research and advocacy lead. My verticals would be agriculture, electoral and political reforms, service delivery, and citizenship engagement. And then the second hat that I wear is I also simultaneously work in my family business of event management. I was looking at operations of the event management business until I think 2021. And after that, I started getting into the business development, the strategy development part of it. So at this moment, I'm balancing these two things. Yes, this is a short, and I think, and about education background, yes. So my education, right. I think you're mute.
Second. Which city do you work from?
Right. So I am based in Hyderabad, sir.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, let's continue.
Yeah. So my educational background, I have a bachelor's in civil engineering from Amity University in Noida. I graduated in 2017. After that, I straight away got into my family business, and like I mentioned, I was in the operations of event management. And then until 2019 is when I was full time in the business. And then as part of that experience, because we're into corporate event management, and we facilitated a lot of these events. Uh, so somehow every event taught me something else. Pharma industry taught me something. Let's say fertilizer industry taught me something. These networking events that we helped facilitate taught me many things. And then I don't know. I think it was like a chain reaction that led me to thinking, okay, what next for me? So then I prepared for civil services for a couple of years. I gave my UPSC attempts. Did not clear that. And then 2021 is when I gave my last attempt. I gave, I think, about four attempts. 2021 is when I gave my last attempt, and I thought to myself that because as part of civil services, you get to know a lot of this information on politics and governance and economics and everything, and that was really interesting. So I thought I should take a couple of years maybe for myself to explore this area, and then hence public policy is what I thought of. So being in Hyderabad, I looked up a couple of these organizations and everything, and it so happened that the organization that I work for currently, FDR, they were doing a press meet on a healthcare reform model. They had just worked, and they were doing a press meet on it. And the office right now, their office contacted us as the event management persons. So I came there, I set up my whole thing, and then I just was sitting down in the event and paying a little bit of attention. And then Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, who is the general secretary of FDR, he started talking about the healthcare reform, the role of the state, and everything. And then I thought, okay, this is something that I really want to do at this point of time. And next day, I think next day, yes, next day I took up my CV, came down to the organization. I said, if you have any internships or something, just give me an internship. I would like to learn more and get to work here.
Yeah.
And there was a process, of course. There was an interview process and everything that happened. So I started off as an intern in 2021, but and 3 years have passed since, and I'm still here in a lead position now.
Okay, it's very interesting, because I guess you went into engineering because that's what young people in India were smart to do. Okay. So, then you realize that, it's not the last thing that you want to do. And in India today, there are great opportunities to do different things, as you have demonstrated, right? You learn from it and you find what interests you and you take it there. Okay. 3 years is a long time to work in reforms. Okay, you're the first person I have met, young person, who works in this area. So let's hear from you what you think are the key achievements of not just you, but of your group. What
Okay.
what
So,
what is it about your group that brings out something very important for India?
right. So before that, I'd just like to add on to one comment that you made about engineering. I think at the class 12th, if a student is not going to medical fields, the next best option for them was engineering, because
Yes.
we always took, somehow we always had this 5-year plan that, okay, in the next 5 years, I'll be an engineer. So this much is secured. I can get into any sector, get a job or something. I'm safe. So I
Yes.
think that's a safety net for us as Indians.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So coming back to reform, right? So this organization FDR, it is headed by Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan. He is an ex-civil servant, then turned politician as well. 1996 is when Foundation for Democratic Reform started, and so there were two sister organizations, Foundation for Democratic Reforms and Lok Satta. Lok Satta was a movement first, and then a political party. In those days, contested in Andhra Pradesh 2009 elections. Back then, it was United Andhra Pradesh.
Yeah.
So 2019 election, 2009 elections they contested, and Dr. JP won a constituency, MLA constituency, and 2016 is when Lok Satta as a party decided not to contest electorally. Now the reasons and everything are I would not be the right person to know, but that's how it is. But this organization FDR is a sister organization of Lok Satta party and Lok Satta movement, but this is more into research and advocacy. So I think FDR has a few verticals that it works under that it considers important. That is education, healthcare, agriculture, public finances, rule of law, local governments, and electoral and political reforms. So I would, if let's say few things that are this group has been able to achieve is we were instrumental in getting the 99th Amendment Act to the Constitution. That was the National Judicial Appointments Committee Act. Although it was, struck down by the Supreme Court because of varied reasons, still there exists in the Constitution. Then about we were able to get the legislation about the Cooperative Societies Act, the cooperative societies. So that was one contribution that we played, and our work has always been about you know education as a sector. Let's say in education we target systemic reform in the sense that we know that demand for good quality education exists in India, but somehow we're not able to meet that good public education, and the standard responses that more expenditure is required and everything, those would not be sufficient, because we have come to the realization that expenditure in education is happening at a good scale. We need to repurpose it, the existing expenditure, and not that more expenditure is not required. More money can be given to the sector, but whatever we are doing with right now is sufficient, and if only it was repurposed, we'd be able to achieve much more. Let's say if you're able to achieve the actual outcomes. Time and again, our ASER reports by Pratham and National Achievement Survey by the government itself has shown that our educational outcomes is where we are poor at. So I think that's the largest systemic reform that we focus on. And in each of these areas that I mentioned, we're looking at systemic reform, the larger reform, not one reform here, one reform there. So that's about the organization. And if the viewers are interested, they can go on to our website, fdrindia.org, and they can understand more about our work.
Okay, fine. I mean, I understand this point, but I want to move on to your other verticals.
Yes.
Local self-government, it's an area of great interest to me, but let me not talk first. Let me hear from you. Local self-government, what is it that you do?
So local self-governments is we believe that from the philosophy of why local governments, we believe that local governments are the schools for democracy, right? We believe that it's not that if power is handed, the principle of subsidiary governance. It's not that people, if the power is more close to people, it's not that the people will be using it very wisely, or people are more morally. It's that they figure out what's really important to them, and that's the larger question that we answer, right? The role of the state. What is the state supposed to do? Now, if you ask a common citizen like me, maybe your street light is not working, who do you complain? most likely the answer, most likely the person would want to reach out. First, you would not know who is the relevant authority to go to, and the second would be, let's talk to the local leader. He may be the ward member. He may be, let's say, he or she may be the ward member. He or she may be the MLA also.
Hmm.
Time and again, we know that MLAs, the constant complaint is that people come to there for their grievances, which they may not be the right person. So if there's a disconnect between the higher government at the state level and the people, there is a tier of government that can fill that gap. That is the local government.
Hmm.
Now, how do you strengthen local government? Of course, you need more funding. As it now happens, is that the union government funds the local governments through the state governments. So the funds are not very regular there, right? And second, local governments do not have the power to raise though as many resources as the state government or the union government has. Union government has a higher power of raising resources. So funds are lacking at the local government. And then you have irregular elections. Uh, we don't really have elections at the local government. That is, we know that state level elections will happen every 5 years. There is a fixed procedure for that, but local governments not really. Local government elections get pushed forward. With we don't know when the elections will happen. So there's a lack of uh, proper machinery also for that, right? And third thing, we feel that the local governments have been overstructured in the constitution. Now, I would not like to go into the details of it, because then it's again, a constitutional task, and more political science people will be able to tell more. But I feel like there's so much of structure given in the constitution about local governments, what the functions are, but it's not happening on the ground. So somewhere, I think, if let's say if you're able to decrease the burdening structure of the government, but still somehow empower the local governments, that would be something that can work really good for us. One thing that we can do is have, let's say, a citizens charter in each of these governments. Now, if you go around, let's say, if I will share this an example with you, sir. So
Please.
most recently, I live in the Secunderabad area of Hyderabad.
Yeah.
Now that is run by Secunderabad Cantonment Board. It's not a
Yeah.
municipal board; it's a cantonment board run by the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
So every cantonment board and every local government has, in almost all of them have a citizens charter that you're supposed to get this service, that service. But I happened to visit the cantonment board most recently because of some, there was an issue in the water drainage system at my house. So I went there and I spent, I think, about 2.5, 3 months, but still no solution has come out.
Yeah.
So on paper, there is a citizen starter that says that, okay, the citizen is supposed to get this service delivered, but we
Yeah.
don't have anybody, mandating by who is the relevant authority. Most often I have to go to talk to the peon that, okay, I want to get this done. Who do I talk to? The
Yeah.
peon, himself will take a little bit of time, say, okay, the Saab busy hai, Saab is in the meeting, this and that. It'll take me about at least 2 to 3 days to get to the right department first, and then understand their procedures. And then it feels very dehumanizing when you deal with the government at that level, right? That, I'm here for a service. Ideally, on paper, I'm supposed to get a service, but I don't know who the concerned authority is. I
Yes.
don't know what is the timeline for me to get the service. And I don't even know if there is a penalty or if there's a accountability factor in the citizen starter. So 2.5 months I spent there, sir, because my dad was, not really, generally my dad handles all this stuff, but then he was not medically, well at that point of time. So I had to take that. And 2.5 months, I could not get that thing done. I'm still, whatever the issue is that still pertains, we've found our way around it. So
Okay.
local governments is something that's really important, but not really empowered, I feel. This is my 2 cents, sir. My
Yeah, I
understanding.
agree. I agree with you. I mean, the reason we have filthy cities is because we don't have local governance. And we will
Yes.
continue to have filthy cities so long as we don't have local governance. It's just not going to happen. But I also want you to take a look at what's happening to Panchayati Raj institutions. Because see, they have constitutional backing. Now we are talking political science, okay? They have constitutional backing, while local self-government, the reason they're pushed around is because they don't have constitutional backing. They are not the third level of constitutional. But since 1990s, Panchayati Raj institutions are constitutional. So in a sense, they don't derive their power from the chief minister or the prime minister, they derive their power from the constitution. But what do they do? Do you know?
I don't think so, sir, because I feel like Panchayati Raj, I feel that, okay, the positions are really powerful. By powerful, I mean, you have the respect in the society.
Yeah,
If you're a punch or if you're a panchpati or if you're, let's say, even a panchayat secretary, you have that, social status that, okay, he's a big man.
yeah.
But uh, I don't think on ground governance is really being delivered, is what I feel.
No, I
Any, let's
agree.
say, we talk
Yeah,
about, rural areas may infrastructure is improving. I feel it is that one chief minister or that one prime minister who feels, no, I want the roads to be better. I want internet connectivity in all my gram panchayats.
yeah.
That's when things happen. I don't think bottom up is what is happening. But on this, sir, I would like to talk to you about one question that I had. You know, how do you think local governments, let's say back in when you were of my age, in your early 20s, do you think local governments there were then were more responsive or more governance oriented than today?
No,
Oh,
they no, they were not more responsive or oriented because they were basically in the same situation that they are now. They are puppets. You know,
mm,
they are locally powerful in dispensing services or favors or something, but they are controlled by the chief minister. And the same thing is happening in Panchayati Raj institutions, that they are controlled by higher ups. They have no authority of their own. And Panchayati Raj, of course, when I was your age, was just, the 1958 is the first report. And I was growing up in Rajasthan, which was one of the pioneers of Panchayati Raj. But
right.
nobody took it seriously. It
So back.
was supposed to be in theory, but in practice, no, it wasn't there. And unfortunately, that's why they put it in the constitution to give it more power. But unfortunately, that has also not turned into reality. And I think this is the biggest mistake that we are making. Not the biggest, one of the mistakes in terms of ground reality, that we don't have power, adequate power to deliver to the city governance or to the rural Panchayati Raj institutions. So no, it is not the case that it has deteriorated. No.
Do
I
you
don't,
think citizens back then had a better understanding of their relationship with the government as to what they should expect from the government and what they should contribute to the government?
no. Those were very early days of, we were still like figuring out electoral democracy. Okay.
Mhm.
India is a unique country that it gave one person, one vote before it had even the semblance, of economic growth. Most
Mm.
countries didn't do that till much, much later, But we started off theoretically on a very high note. But just since you are, just imagine how they even conducted the 1952 election. Where was the experience? And even if another country had the experience, obviously we couldn't go to another country and study it. And no country had the kind of distance of villages and the diversity of India. So we can't learn from another country on how to do things on the ground. And yet they did it. So I would say that the leaders and all were more dedicated, but the people were totally unprepared for this change from Maharaja rule or British rule or Mughal rule to democracy. There was no experience. They had not. I mean, what people don't realize is that India became not free, but India became a republic. We got rid of the emperor.
Mm.
We had the Mughal emperor, then we had the British emperor, and then we had in ancient times Ashoka, the emperor, but we got rid of the emperor. This is the biggest change. Independence, yes, but independence with what? Replaced with another emperor like the Mughal emperor? No. Replaced with a republic. And that's why the day the Constitution came into power is called Republic Day. It should be called Constitution Day, right? But they emphasize this one feature of the Constitution, that we are not just a constitution, we are a republic. So people were not ready for it. They had no clue as to what was happening, how to vote, what to do, no experience. Yes, we had elections in 1937 under the British rule in some states, but I mean, just to tell everybody who has no experience, and literacy level was what, 10, 12% at independence? All of India was 10, 12, 13, 15, something like that. So how are you going to educate these people into, the government was my bap. The Nizam of Hyderabad, guy has all the power in the world. So where is this question of questioning or accountability? This is all unknown. Theory, yes. Read the political science stuff, the theory was there, but on the ground, women didn't know what to do. Should we vote with the husband or what? Was it an act of infidelity if you voted in a different way? These are difficult questions. So we were just growing up. So we didn't, the people didn't understand. And it took time to understand that what an election is. It took time.
Do you think the understanding of what an election is or what governance is requires that a society should be sufficiently educated and only then can be?
No, I think today people know what an election is. What today, no. I mean, since 1975, you can certifiably say that people know what an election is. I mean, they threw out Indira Gandhi in 1977. That was proof, okay, that you cannot override the people. You cannot override the people. You are going to lose. And Rajiv Gandhi's loss in 1989 after the biggest possible win in 1984, which is not going to be matched by any prime minister ever. That sympathy vote. And they voted for him and then they voted him out. So the idea that you can vote people in and vote people out is now clear. And we recognize this as the anti-incumbency feature. But what the Maharaja is not, there's no anti-incumbency against a Maharaja, right? He's there and his son is going to be there. So there's no anti-incumbency. But yes, certainly the people know what they're doing. You can see it in the Delhi election this time. That look, Chandrababu Naidu is back in Andhra, not in Telangana, in Andhra. So people know what election is. People know what vote means. And that, I think that we are well past many years ago. What I find when what you're telling me is that the theory has not gone down to the, we have electoral democracy, but we don't have governance democracy. We have electoral democracy. Yes, we can throw these guys out. But the next guys, what will they do? Not much. That's the problem. That we can throw people out, but how to elect people who will deliver services, whether they are rural in Panchayati Raj institutions or they are in cities in form of the boards and corporations and all. That is something that we haven't figured out. Within the Constitution gives power to Panchayati Raj institutions, but you just dismiss them. They do nothing. Okay, fine. They do nothing. I know it. You know it. So how are we going to get things done? Well, we aren't. We aren't going to get things done. We're going to have filthy cities. We're going to have lagging villages. And we have them. So where is the example or model village or 10 model villages which have shown the way? I can't find anybody saying, oh, we have made it work in this state, in this district. I don't see anybody saying that it has worked. Or, people say, okay, we have smart cities. And we have one or two that have done wonders. But one or two, I mean, this is not enough, and what wonders? They've kept it clean. Okay, fine. Is that enough? I mean, it's seen as a great achievement that the city is not filthy. Okay. It shouldn't be a great achievement. It should be a way of life,
Right.
right? It should be what happens anyhow. Anyway,
Hmm.
let me not talk so much.
Yeah.
Let's turn to agriculture. What do you people think about agriculture?
So our fundamental belief is that agriculture, in agriculture, the problem is with the price, right? We don't feel that MSP is a solution. We feel that MSP is something that will distort the market. We feel that price is a very good indicator, and every farmer is in our, at least our modern understanding of the term, may not be an entrepreneur, but for all practical purposes, he is an entrepreneur. He or she is looking at the market, the demand, and demand is, manifested in the price, form of price, and he's making a rational decision. Okay, at this price, if this is the price of the previous year, I'm going to sow these many, this much of crops, and this will be my acreage and everything, and that's how I'm going to produce. But what happens is that maybe due to lack of fertilizers, good fertilizers or pesticides, or maybe due to lack of good quality seeds also. I think we do have high yield variety seeds, but they need constant replacement, right? So maybe because of that, then maybe because our agriculture is largely dependent on monsoon and the vagaries of monsoon, maybe, and climate change is also proving that you may have higher rainfall, but you'll have a scattered rainfall. You'll have an unpredictable rainfall, but maybe a higher rainfall. So because of these issues, there is let's say a glut, or let's say a shortage of produce in the market. Now, our solution would be that if, let's say, there was a mechanism by which a farmer, whatever acreage he or she has produced, could store it, right? If I produce, let's say, 100 tons of a produce right now, and I can store it because I want to store it, and so that when the price is right, I'm able to sell that. When I have complete control over my commodity, that okay, this is the time right price to sell, and then I will sell at this price. So I think the markets won't fluctuate that much. A, B, the farmer will get a price that he dictates, not the what the market dictates or what the local APMC market would dictate. And third, whatever the extra produce, it can also go into food processing. Right. For that, we need better industry and farmer linkages. Now, what the three farm laws tried to achieve in 2020, if I'm not wrong, this was the 2020 farm laws, they were in a sense very right for the agricultural sector. But what became problematic was the style versus the substance. Now, the substance of the law would definitely pro growth and pro market for the farmers and for for the agriculture sector. But the style of how it was delivered, maybe that was found fault with the other political parties, and that too, and because of that reason itself, and the the considerations of the political economy, they had to go back on the farm law. But in some sense, the farm laws were trying to achieve what we really need. Now, how do we look at a solution to this? I think at the state level, each of the states can take up this as their own thing, and they can start pushing, let's say, more food processing, more farmer industry contracts, contract farming as it's called. Uh, every state can look at it in their own way, is what we feel.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, let me add one comment. You are a man after my heart because you use the word union government.
Right.
Okay. People keep saying government of India.
Hmm.
There's no government of India. That was in the British rule.
Hmm.
Right now we have, and it's not even the central government. Central government indicates that it's like the sun and the planets rotate around the sun. But it's
Right.
just the union government.
Hmm.
That's all. And the chief ministers don't derive their power from that. They are not satellites of the prime minister. They are independent. And so I always use the term union government.
Hmm.
And you used it without my urging you to do it. So you are a man after my heart. That
Right. Thank you so
until
much.
we recognize that we recognize the theory of the Constitution and turn it into the reality on the ground, we are going to fail. If we don't give the Panchayati Raj constitutional powers to the Panchayati Raj institutions, if we don't give the city governments the power that they need,
Hmm.
we are going to have these problem cities.
Absolutely.
And you are going to continue. And I said, look, If you continue to mismanage your villages, you will continue to have slums in large cities.
Absolutely, sir.
So fighting slum redevelopment, this slum redevelopment, that just leads to one more slum. Okay. You cannot escape it because you are mismanaging the villages. So managing the villages through the right approach is absolutely critical if you don't want to have unmanageable cities. And I'm saying this to you because it's my long-standing message now, that the real problem why you have all these problems in the cities is that you're mismanaging your villages.
So there are three numbers that I would like to quote right now. This is what Dr.
Sure.
JP has told us, and uh, this is, I think, tells a good picture of what we really are. So first number is 65%. 65% of our population lives in rural areas. We have about 31 or 32% of urban population. Let's consider 35%. 65% of our population is in rural areas. Second, 80 to 85% of our employment is in unorganized sector,
Yes.
which, right. And some estimates also go on to say that it is about 93%.
Yeah.
But let's take a conservative estimate, 80 to 85%. Third is 46% of the employment is in agriculture sector.
Yes.
Now, we realize that a country of 140 crore people, and let's say a major economy, as we would like to call ourselves because of sheer size of our economy, we would not find any other country with similar numbers.
No.
A country of large size, a country of we call major economy, and this much of difference, urban rural difference, employment difference, unorganized and organized, and primary sector employment dependence. So, like you rightly said, sir, romanticizing about our rural areas that, India, gaon mein basta and all, is not going to really help come out. And frankly speaking, none of my relatives, so my origins are also from Bihar, sir.
Yeah.
None of my relatives right now would want to stay in that village that my dad grew up in. I was born and brought up in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
But if and those people who are there, if given a chance, they would like to move to the nearest city.
Right.
And nobody would want to stay out in a village out of choice. It's only those people that, maybe there's a land that is holding them. Maybe, they have some land that is good, that goes into agriculture that is holding them. Or maybe they lack the skills to go skills to go out to the tier 2, tier 3 cities and work and make a living of them. That's purely that what is holding them. So we at FDR thought, okay, why don't we, instead of, and in COVID time was our dictation, sir. COVID time, we saw that, there was a lot of reverse migration that was happening.
Yes.
That people from cities had to go back to, their own areas and everything because livelihood was lost. So what if we try to create, let's say, a bridge city, like a small town small town between the large city and the village, so that many important services like a plumber or let's say, any services. Basically, services are where people reside. So wherever people reside, you would need services, and the level of people that reside in that area will determine the level of sophistication that your services need.
Yeah.
Let's say a professor, let's say a high-end cardiologist, definitely would be required in a city. But in a town, we need a larger physician. We need, let's say, a couple of and general physicians. Definitely, we need. So what if we try to develop that small town that could act as a bridge for the rural people and also for the urban people, so that decongestion happens from the big city, and people, instead of migrating from the rural areas and go to the big city, go to the small town and make a living. Because in a city in Hyderabad, sir, every security guard personnel is either from the eastern part of the India. That's the larger part. And they are earning about 11 to 12,000. Now, 11 to 12,000 rupees in an Indian city is insufficient. And back home, they have a family to support. They have at least 2 kids, one wife, and let's say one of the one of the parents.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, I'm really sorry, sir. Yeah. If that is the case, then 11,000 won't be sufficient. But 11,000 in a tier 2 city, in a small town is not sufficient, but it is okay. You can manage with that, because your rental expenditure is less, your travel is less, you have the support of the family. So same if you are able to develop in a small town. Right now, how we're doing is that, right now even in Hyderabad, so Hyderabad is expanding. First, we had the ORR, the outer ring road. And now we have a concept called the RRR, the regional ring road. Now it is just expanding like this. But yeah, small town is something that we can explore, to solve this kind of an issue.
Well, let me say that my time to explore is over. We are into practice.
Right.
3.5 years ago, I wrote a book, India 2047, and in it was a recommendation that we should develop our small towns.
Oh, wow.
Now we have set up a non-profit group which is studying and is about to actually start working in small towns. We have defined a small town to mean 1 lakh population in 2011 census. And we are focused so far on 3 states, Rajasthan, West Bengal, and Odisha. And in each of the states, we have identified the first 2 small towns that we will develop. And the idea is very clear: create jobs and increase incomes.
Right.
So that's where everything that you just said, that is the objective.
Right.
And in West Bengal, we have Shuri. I'm saying it in Bengali way. In Hindi, it's Suri. Shuri in Birbhum district, which is the border of Jharkhand. And in Odisha, we have Raigada, which is in the southern part near Andhra. And Rajasthan, we have Chittorgarh. Our team has visited Birbhum 4 times. And we are about to go to Raigada and Chittor in Rajasthan, which is the non-desert part. And precisely this, so we can talk about, we will have a website. The non-profit is called Ecotech Innovators.
Ecotech Innovations.
Innovators. And the point is that we are going to be innovators. Throwing more money and throwing more resources is not the answer. The answer is in being innovative. And for that, we have technology, ecology, and economy. So we are, and our work will be quite local. I describe it in this way. I don't know how women buy clothes, but if a man goes to buy some for an interview, he says, okay, a shop, he says, look, out of all these shirts, one fits me, I'll take it, right? So that's standardized. But my pants and my coat and all that, I need to get stitched to suit me. So that's hyper local. Made for me, shirt is standard. So this is our approach in these towns. Some things must be hyper local, meaning just for this town or this and the surrounding rural areas. It's only possible here. It's only desirable here. And we have some standard ideas which we will see whether they fit here. So this is our approach, and we are going to be networked. And how can you be hyper local? How can you go and say, I know how to do it in this way in this town? Because you cannot have that expertise in the team.
Right.
Only way is to be networked.
Right.
So to have a network of large number of technical and non-technical people. And they say, look, we went there, we think this might be either a constraint or an opportunity. Okay, so in engineering terms, they formulate the problem statement, but they don't know how to solve it.
Right, yes.
Right? But hang on for a minute. They formulate the problem statement, and the problem statement is thrown to the network, which is worldwide. So the problem statement comes to the network. The network, some people say, I know how to do it, or I don't know how to do it, but the network is also Indian. By Indian, I mean somebody reads it and says, hey, I don't know it, but my chachi's brother, he might know the answer.
Right.
And this is what I mean by Indian network. You are not coming with your own self. You are coming with your network of family and friends, right? And bring that person's knowledge just to solve this problem for this time. So this is what we are actually about to start implementation. And in it, we need the support of many, many young people to be in our network. Because we are going to be in these towns for the next 25, 50 years.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, because we know that the villages will be mismanaged. But in these towns, you have the district hospital, you have mediocre colleges, and you have maybe 1.5 hours to the nearest railway station if there is no train there. It's not too far. Plus, the people who are leaving the villages to this town, they can take a bus. They are not 1,000 kilometers. They don't have to take a train. They can take a bus. It's a 3, 4, 5 hour journey by bus. So they can be near their family, not too far, and maybe make 10,000 rupees, maybe not 12, maybe make 10, but it's enough.
It's enough.
It's enough. That's what I'm saying. So, so I'd very much love to have you and your group support us. We are, there are many activities, the multiple points of creating jobs and increasing incomes. One is that my older brother Ashok, who's leading it, he lives in Pune. If he was born today, he would have been a tech entrepreneur. As it is, he got an MBA in finance, but he is a tech entrepreneur. He has created a methodology in a field that most people won't think of, how to grow fruit trees in poor quality soil with very little water. And it's been tested by BIF, which is India's leading agricultural technical institutions, and they're working with him. And they're looking to spread it. It's free. There's no patent. There's no copyright. There's no fee. It's called Root Feast. And it requires very little water. And you can even grow in poor quality topsoil. Not can. Poor, we don't, and the logic is very straightforward. You don't plant small saplings, you plant large saplings, and you plant them 15 inches deep. So the root is 15 inches below the topsoil. It doesn't matter what's in the topsoil because the root has nothing to do with it. And when you plant it, you add vermicompost, which is organic and readily available in India. And you can add biochar, which you can make from leaves. So it's very simple, very cheap, very easy to do. There's nothing sophisticated, nothing to be imported in the village or in the small town from anywhere. You don't even have to get it from the capital. Everything is local, everything is doable. So we have many ideas. I'd very much love to have you as part of that group.
Absolutely.
You have stated you are the first person who has stated the problem that I stated. I've talked to so many people, they have, but you have stated it. You and I are on the same page.
Absolutely.
We say union government and we say small town.
Right.
Okay, so, and we don't have to have much money because we are going to be catalytic to grow what grows. Make it grow. Don't just throw completely new things which people don't know how to handle. As you said, the farmers are rational, the people are rational, but they are risk averse. They cannot afford to be risk takers. That's what separates them from entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are risk takers, but these people make rational decisions, but they are not risk takers. So you are not dealing with risk takers. You are dealing with people who are living on the edge and just cannot afford to do risky things. They have neither the capital nor the capacity. So you have to give them something that works.
Absolutely, sir.
Right? So we are going to do that, and we need some people to support us. So we will have our website up soon. These formalities have not really been very important for my team. I'm not a practical man. I'm a thinker, okay? There are many, many thoughts that I have. I'm not about to go to visit any of these places because I can't do the practical stuff, okay? There are people better than me. They will do it. And one innovative idea of mine, which we will implement, is that my question was, how will I know what is actually happening in the projects that we are supporting in these small towns? So do we rely on local reports, and whom can I trust? And I don't want to appoint one key person in a town because then that person becomes the bottleneck. Everything goes through that person. And I don't know what the reality is. So I thought to myself, who are the most reliable people in a small town? I came to the, or near by rural areas, and I came to the conclusion that our retired army people are everywhere and they are more reliable than anybody else. So
I'm
why
sorry,
don't
retired?
army people?
Okay.
So why don't we retired army people means these are JCOs, NCOs, they are not commissioned officers, or maybe one or two. But if I make them my eyes and ears, then they can tell me whether there's some garbad going on there. Okay, so I through my Vidped series, I talked to one lieutenant general and several major generals, and they've said, sure, Subodh, we'll do it. So we will appoint a brigadier level person at the state capital. The brigadier, they have a complete database of every retired army person, wherever he or she is. So if you say, I need in Birbhum district, tick, 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 these are the 6 people living there, right? Then this brigadier will interview them and select 2 or 3. We will pay them. Maybe 7, 8, 10,000 rupees a month. They will only tell us if something they hear, some garbad, some mistake, some fraud, some waste, something in whatever scheme we do. And they'll report to the brigadier, not to us. Because they don't know how to talk to civilians. Civilians don't know how to talk to them. Let them report to this brigadier. We will be in 10 or 15 towns. The brigadier will have his own small army of people who are reporting to him. We don't pay the brigadier. He's got enough money. He doesn't need. But this is the innovation that we will introduce, cooperation between defense and civilian. And the moment it becomes operational, we will also ask, I have not yet asked, the wives of the senior army people living in that state, that can you please give some training to the wives, to the women in the family of the retired people, whether they are daughters, daughters-in-law, wives, whatever. Give them something which you think you can give them. Make them leaders of change within that town. Right? Maybe it's not you, maybe it's your college-going daughter. You are a brigadier, you have a college-going daughter, or you have a daughter doing an MA. Get them to go to this small town and teach the families of the army people there. Make them leaders of change. What? You decide. Make it local. Make it work there. So we are going to be very innovative and take advantage of the opportunities and think of things that have, I mean, there's never been civilian defense cooperation in India in any development project. But that's my own dream sitting here. And it's one brigadier told me, Subodh, stop talking. Just stop talking. I'm waiting for somebody to ask me to do something. One major from Bihar wrote to me, sir, can you help me? I want to do something here. And this, I want to teach the farmers how to grow exportable fruits. So I'm saying, yes, through my network, I have connections. And very few non-profit people operate in this way because they were all set up long ago. But we are setting it up to network. So if I need one brigadier, major general, he told me, Subodh, I am now a motivational speaker. I just trained 400 block BDOs from Odisha. Right? When you go to Odisha, you tell me the name of the BDOs in that district and tell them that I trained them and I'll contact them and they will do what you want. That's what I mean by Indian network. And one of the fellows who has a PhD now, Andhra guy, he said, he was telling me, sir, I got married while I was in my MA. My wife is from Odisha. I said, I didn't take it seriously. Then he said, sir, I said, where is she now? I said, she's in Odisha. I said, where? So she's the deputy district planner in Raigad. I said, oh my God, this is my district. So I already have the deputy district planner of Raigada with me. And she wrote to me, sir, that when your team comes, when your brother comes, he should stay with me. I'll look after it. So this is how we are operating, through contacts, through local, not formal only, because, we are Indians. We need to work as Indians.
Absolutely.
Right? But we don't need so much money. If we can get things, if I can, for example, I mean, I don't have time much now, but we have an idea of how even poor women can grow tomatoes in a bucket. We've got it from Hawaii. Okay. You give them 3 baltis. Each balti, you fill water, complete, put something called vermicompost, put the lid, make a hole, put a tomato sapling, put a support of bamboo or some other lakdi, you make a support, because tomatoes need support. Okay. In 3 months, you will get tomatoes. You don't have to do anything. So we'll give 3 baltis even to poor women who don't have a house. They can grow their own tomatoes. So we are thinking, not thinking, but people give us ideas from around the world. So
and I think it is important to have that kind of a melting pot of these ideas, because even in the non-profit sector, each non-profit organization or an NGO is working in silos, I feel.
No, we are not.
We need a platform where all ideas come together and work collaboratively.
And I'm also inviting other NGOs to come to my towns, because I'm not in education, right? But I know it's essential. So if you tell me that you are teaching slum children in Pune, I will ask you, can you please set up in this small town? Right? And you teach the children. I cannot. I'm focused on job creation, and you work independently. So I'm inviting other NGOs. Okay, Ankit, we are almost out of time. Let's end this here. I want a couple of things I want to discuss with you offline. So let's end it here. But it's always my custom to give the final word to the speaker.
Oh, final word to the speaker. I think this conversation felt very refreshing. More than I think the audience, I feel I enjoyed talking to you, because you shared a couple of insights and about the role of the state and everything, and that's more important too, because I'm also now solidifying my understanding of what the role of the state is. So this conversation definitely is the one of the top 80 minutes of my time that I've always spent here.
Okay,
thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir.
Okay, good. Let's end it here. I have something to discuss with you offline. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then.